Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. My name is Matthew Oliver from Stillwater Alchemy, and this week, a big emphasis around Venus. Venus is going to be making a lot of different aspects, which is beautiful because we just had that new moon solar eclipse last week. And so, with the integration that's taking place, there's going to be new discoveries, new ways for us to go deeper within ourselves, within our relationships, with how we interact with different parts of our lives. So this is not the week to shy away from the work or distract ourselves. Remember that Mars just stationed retrograde on the 30th of October. So that's yesterday. And that's really important because with Mars stationing retrograde, you might notice a few different manifestations of this. One of this is a decrease in energy, given that Mars rules that passion, that drive, that motivation. And that's not going to be the entire retrograde. However, when the planet is stationing itself, given that today is the 31st of October, happy Halloween, but especially the 31st and the 1st, as Mars is just starting to move backwards, you might just notice apathy or lethargy or just a decrease in motivation. So I want you to take note of that and give yourself permission to rest, to slow down, to do things that you need to do to support yourself in these moments. I know for me, even I knew it was coming. It felt like a sucker punch to my gut. And I had this massive headache for all of Sunday, and I just needed to sleep. And that's what I did. I just laid in bed. I didn't answer anything, and I just needed that rest so that I knew that for the week ahead that I would be solid. And so that's just a heads up. It might not manifest that way for everyone, but just know that, especially in the house that is ruled by Gemini in your chart, you might feel a certain type of energy. Or another way that Mars can manifest is just spiraling or spinning out or being frustrated or anxious or angry, right? These kind of key words that we affiliate with Mars. And so if that's happening to you, then also know that that's part of the process, especially with Mars making that square to Neptune, that it's sometimes good to know where we are spiraling or where we're feeling frustrated so that we can make the proper adjustments to not have to feel that way ever again. It's like when the doctor is doing an assessment and asking about symptoms, it's so that they can get directly to the source to make sure they treat that and not all these other things. So take note of that. This is going to be the time to journal, to talk, even just saying it out loud. Even if you're not talking to someone, voice what you are thinking. You don't need to hold that all in. I think one of the blessings of Gemini and Gemini energy is that need to converse, to talk things out, to be curious, to ask questions, to understand things from that cerebral standpoint. So this is going to be an opportunity for all of us to get a masterclass in Mars and Gemini, and especially the house in our chart ruled by Gemini. Okay, so just some things to note as you start the week, especially. So as we bring up the chart, we're going to see that on Monday, October 31st, we have the moon finishing her transit in Capricorn, and then she'll move into Aquarius. So both of these are Saturn ruled signs, like I said. So there might be a good way to start the week would be to be more pragmatic, to get things in order, to set yourself up for success, because spoiler, later on this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the moon is going to be in Pisces. It's going to be very romantic, very dreamy. You might want to slow down at the end of the week or maybe take a half day on Friday. So if you can get the things that need to be done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the later part of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can enjoy it a lot more because there might be really good opportunities for a date night or going to a party or having some really nice, intimate, fun time. So heed my suggestion of getting everything that needs to be done on Monday and Tuesday, especially. Of course, it's Halloween, so enjoy the festivities as needed, but just have that in the back of your mind as well. The one thing I will say when we move into Tuesday is that with the moon in Aquarius, she's now making a square to Venus, and now Venus is in a very close orb to the south node. So this can manifest in a couple of different ways. One, with the moon so close to Saturn and the moon making that square to Venus, there may be something around a feminine or female presence in your life. So it could be a mother, a sister, a female friend, or even the feminine part of you, where there might need to be a boundary placed if we're talking about moon conjunct Saturn. It may also be that a feminine energy in your life you need to separate from, or that you're going to be leaving. It could be a physical move. It could be that kind of either nurturing or caring or feminine way of doing things, you're going to switch out, or a belief around love in general. If we're talking about Venus, we had a very similar aspect last year in October when the moon and Venus were both conjunct the south node in Sagittarius. And I had some people report to me that they had lost loved ones, like a physical death, or that there was just a release or a purge in different ways. So I don't want to scare anyone, but I will say that Tuesday is probably one of the more intense, energetic days. We even have the moon making a square to Uranus. So there might just be news around some type of love, mother, feminine presence in your life where you either need to implement a boundary, where something needs to shift or be altered so that you're not consistently feeling the same way over and over and over again. This could also just be, on the flip side, a great way to put more attention, put more focus, put more dedication into there, because maybe you're thinking that this relationship isn't what I want it to be. I feel like we're drifting apart. I feel like there's something to salvage here. And I want to make sure that moving forward, we both have the same intentions. We both have the same mindset around how we want this relationship to grow. And of course, that could also just be inward as well. This could be individual, of how you want to treat yourself, how you want to provide and nurture and care for yourself, and how you want to receive that love and support from all your relationships, not just loved ones, but at work, in your community, every single place. And I think community is a good aspect too with talking about Aquarius energy, because I know sometimes with these forecasts, they can be quite broad, but if we're talking about the theme of Aquarius, that also is a fellow air sign. That's also talking about our own values and ethics and who we choose to surround ourselves with. It's always very curious when I meet someone and they introduce me to their friends, and you often get a very clear representation of who that person is based on their friends, or based on their community, or based on where they socialize or where they travel. And so that could also be something that you're starting to integrate as well, in terms of collapsing those timelines of who you are now and who you wish to be. Who do you want to surround yourself with? What kind of knowledge, what kind of mentors, what kind of lovers, what kind of society are you wanting to hold? And that could also just be very challenging as well, because you're leaving a part of yourself behind. You're like, well, I used to connect with these types of people. I used to maybe go out clubbing every weekend, or I used to always play the victim. And now I know that that part of me is dying. There is an ego death happening, that I no longer can play the game at this rate if I want to level up and succeed. So that could also be a very visceral way of this manifesting as well. So just be gentle with yourself. And sometimes too, all of that energy is manifesting to someone close to you, and then you're feeling it as a byproduct of that. Oh, really quick story. This just made me remember. Remember last week on Friday, the moon was in Sagittarius, making an opposition to Mars in Gemini. And I was saying, be careful with your legs, like be cautious where you're walking, or just be careful of a leg injury. Make sure you warm up at the gym. So I was walking on this beautiful hike with a very good friend, and her dog had a branch, and I thought nothing of it. And this dog is Speedy Gonzalez, and it ran right in between my friend and I, holding the branch. It was like a T-bone branch, and the branch hit both my friend and I in the back of our leg, and it was like a very sharp pain. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I realized Mars rules over dogs. And so the moon in Sagittarius rules like that femur part of your leg from your hip to your knee. And so I found a lot more joy in understanding that, of course, this manifested in a dog running, hitting my leg with a tree branch. I just thought that, of course, this would manifest like that. And so just like any of these transits, there's a million and one ways they can come forth. But even kind of what I was speaking and channeling, it might just be more of the latter for many of you, of you leaving behind certain parts of yourself to integrate into a more heightened, evolved version of what you wish to become. And that makes perfect sense, because of course we're in eclipse season, right? So when we move on to Wednesday, the moon crosses that threshold of Saturn. She's now making that trine to Mars. So this is nice too, because now Mars is at a couple days. It's now starting to make that backwards trajectory in its retrograde cycle. So this can also be a time too where now you're using your mind in a sharper way, where you're using your thoughts and your belief and your mindset to get ahead. Or you might just, again, with that integration phase of you evaluating relationships within yourself or others, that you have to course correct and you have to think about things in a different way to succeed. And I mean, I love mutable energy for the fact that they can adapt, they can pivot, they're not afraid of being curious or knowing that there's many different ways to approach a certain problem. So that can also be something as well, that reaching out for support, reaching out to other people, reaching out for different types of information may serve you very well. And remember, we're looking at 9 a.m. and the moon is just finishing off her transit in Aquarius. So around, I believe it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon will move into Pisces. So that's a significant shift in energy. And so when we move on to Thursday, there's a lot going on here. So you can see here, right? So Venus is at 12 degrees on Wednesday. Thursday, she's at 14. So she's crossing that threshold with the South Node. So also a really great way to use that South Node transit and take back the power is getting some energy work done, or maybe crying or moving emotions out of your body. So if you have a therapy session or you just need to rant or vent, like we said, sometimes you just need to express your emotions and not hold them in. And that's very much a South Node energy where you might just be crying or releasing in some way, shape, or form. So if you're not a crier, just be aware that that might manifest this week. But now we move into the really good parts of this week. So now with Thursday, the moon is in Pisces and the moon is aspecting both Mercury and the sun. So if we're talking moon in Pisces, there is this creativity, there's a sensuality, there's this romance in the air. So if you have now done all this personal work at the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, releasing, shedding, knowing your worth, understanding how you want to move to attract that heightened version of yourself, there might be some blessed correspondence or this opportunity to connect romantically, personally, or just great news, especially in a creative endeavor or something where you get to grow and evolve. So for all of you artists out there or creative individuals, this could be a really great time to have conversations to expand and to grow. And if you're wanting to go deeper and have those kind of intimate chats, this will be a really great time to do that as well in any relationship. So maybe something happened at the start of the week, you want to circle back and check in on a certain loved one, or even checking in on yourself to see how you're feeling. With all of this water energy, we now have 6 planets in water signs. So it's great for tuning into intuition, love, emotion, really connecting in with that part of ourselves, and potentially being more soft and empathetic with others as well. And it's kind of like catching more bees with honey than with vinegar, that you extending kindness, you showing that warmth to others can bring back blessings tenfold. So really honor that, especially on Thursday. When we move to Friday, this is like, if you want to do some kind of love ritual, money manifestation, take some extra time in your morning to call in whatever you like. I mean, this is some really nice energy here. And it's also curious as well, the South Node conjunct the sun, that you might literally be changing parts of yourself. For me, it's like Sun and Scorpio with the South Node. It's like you're really going to the underworld here to see what no longer serves you. Also, if you haven't seen the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon, she gets to a point in her journey where she's just like disheveled, she's sore, she has so many blisters, and she gets to the one kind of pit stop, and there's all these experienced hikers, and they're like, okay, go through your backpack. It's like, do you use this? Do you use this? Do you use this? She's like, no, no, no. And then she realized that her shoes were not the same, like the right size. And they're like, that's why you keep getting blisters. You need these types of shoes, this type of features. And that is what I'm kind of feeling on Friday, is that you're able to reevaluate or look at things in a different way of like, these are things that are just getting in my way. I need to get rid of this, get rid of that, rethink this in this way. It just becomes so much more clear on Friday. It's like this light bulb, especially with the moon conjunct Neptune, conjunct Jupiter. It's like, oh, why couldn't I have seen this in this way? It's because you needed to learn these lessons first, to maybe be uncomfortable, maybe to be in pain, maybe to feel that emotion before you could actually allow yourself to get out of that discomfort fully. And I mean, I think we can all remember a time in our life where the only way we would have changed is had we gone through that near-death experience, that death in our life, that really traumatic experience that allowed us to reach out for help, or not getting something that we really wanted, that we were so passionate about, that we would literally have killed for, and that set us on a different trajectory. And I mean, I'm being very intense with these metaphors because, hello, we are in Scorpio season. But I do think there's just going to be this revelation or this insight or this profound energy that can come through on Friday. And I mean, Friday is still a really great day for intimacy and connection. I like Thursday a little bit better just because the moon is in that direct aspect to Venus. And if we're talking about all of this water energy, if you are trying to conceive, if you are trying to get pregnant, Thursday night would be a beautiful day to do so. Thursday is ruled by Jupiter. We have Jupiter in aspect to the moon, and then we also have Venus in a water sign. So this is also good, like I said, for all creatives or really trying to create or make something fertile. If you're trying to apply for a job or apply for a loan or make anything grow, Thursday, Friday, this would be the time to get all of that energy growing. Okay. When we move to Saturday, we now have the moon in Aries. So this is quite a stark shift. And now we can see this exact conjunction with the sun in the south node. With the moon in Aries, move your body. Don't allow everything just to sit. The moon in Aries likes to have things to do. It's a Mars ruled sign. I will say now, with the moon being ruled by Mars in a retrograde sign, if for whatever reason you feel the need to slow down, this could also be a nice energy too. Then go for a walk or maybe doing some yoga. You're not going to be moving your body in the same type of fashion, but it's going to be relaxed. I just remembered I want to go back for 1 second because the moon is also making this square to Gemini. And when I was thinking about this transit on Friday, this could be a situation where you're not afraid to speak up for yourself, or you're not going to be afraid to speak your worth. So let's say you're applying for a loan or applying for a job. Maybe you'd be a bit more timid or a bit more laid back. Now, knowing your worth, you're going to be able to speak up in a way that maybe people aren't expecting or people don't know you for. And again, if we're talking about moon, Mars aspects, the moon in Pisces, that's our feet. So just making sure that you're taking care of your feet. If you want to get a foot massage, a reflexology session on Friday or Thursday, those could be some really great days to do. So applying some heat and pressure to your feet. Now, again, too, if like you've been working nonstop, or if you work at a job where you're standing a lot, putting some pressure, putting some energy in your feet to get that energy moving could also be really nice. Even like a foot bath could be a good way to use this energy and use the heat from Gemini as this transit. And just being in that place where you're being still and having people work on your feet could allow for these insights or downloads to come through. Now, moving back to Saturday, with this moon in Aries, it's not really aspecting anything too much. It'll be making that applied sextile to Saturn and then that energy to Mars as well. So if you're wanting to start something new, if you're wanting to catapult something, if you're wanting to, or if you're feeling impatient, this is where I would just kind of note where you need some structure, where you need to focus, where you need to be able to implement what you want with your mind, with your beliefs. Remember, if we're talking about Mars and Gemini, it is a lot of that nervous system. It's being able to have discipline with our mind, with our thoughts, with our words. And a lot of people are always curious about Chiron. And so there might be this feeling on Saturday is like, with those profound thoughts that come through on Friday, on Saturday, there might be a doubt of, what if this doesn't work? This is a lot of money. It's safer for me to just keep doing what I'm doing, even though I'm not happy. So just being aware that you want to initiate something, you want to start something, but then there might be a fear holding you back. And I would just implore you on Sunday to keep going, because again, we're now, the moon is reaching that point where next week we're going to have the full moon solar eclipse, or pardon me, the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 8th of November. So that's coming up very soon. So as you can see, this week has a lot of intense energies at play, and it's all in divine timing to get us ready for that next eclipse. And I feel like we just had an eclipse last week, which was like, felt like a day. It's almost like a week feels like a day feels like a week. It's just, time is very special right now. So just be aware of that and know that on Sunday, things will start moving in your favor a lot easier. And also too, with this south node reaching Mercury, that can be a nice energy too, and just shifting thoughts, conditioning fears that have been so solid that now what we believe or what we're putting so much intense focus into is going to change, which can be really nice. And sometimes too, this can manifest as like a business deal or an agreement or a contract falling through, which again is not necessarily the worst thing, because maybe something better is going to be coming through in its stead. So let's say you applied for a whole bunch of positions on Friday and maybe didn't hear back or are starting to lose faith on Sunday. Keep going, because we have that eclipse coming through later on. So don't allow bad news to impede your progress over the weekend. Boom. So our astrology question of the week. This comes from Tiffany. She says, or they say, for the last 9 odd months, a lot of astrologers talk about fixed signs going through it. Are you able to explain why this is the case? Thank you. So we've been talking a lot about fixed energy many times through this week ahead forecast segment, but I thought this was a good chance to remind everyone why, especially if you've been learning more about astrology and want to implement this in your own life. And given the fact that we are in Scorpio season, it becomes that much more prevalent as to why the fixed signs are going through it. So just as a reminder, the fixed signs are Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. So you don't even need to just possess that as your sun sign. If you're a rising sign, that is fixed, or a moon sign that is fixed, you'll be going through it. Same thing with the personal inner planets. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, if you have those in fixed signs, you're going to be feeling this in some way, shape, or form as well. Even just the fact that we're experiencing the eclipses in Taurus, in Scorpio, is going to be activating all the fixed signs in our chart. And even if you don't have any fixed placements, the notion of what fixed energy brings, which is loyalty, stability, constant motion in one direction, or having control in a way, where we feel that in our life is going to change. And again, even just looking at your natal chart, look at the houses that are ruled by Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, because then that'll show you where in your life things might be turbulent, or where you're being forced to change or really re-examine things from a deeper or different approach. And even if we look back at the chart, just to show you this visually, so currently in all of the Scorpio placements, we have Mercury, the south node, the sun, and Venus. We have Saturn in Aquarius. We have Uranus in the north node in Taurus. So there's so many planets in fixed signs, and Saturn can be quite challenging because it can show us where we need to slow down, which most times we do not like being told to slow down, to wait, to work harder, to have more discipline, to have more boundaries. Most times that can be frustrating. In relationships, like slow down, it's not your time. At work or a promotion, not yet. In health, you have to keep eating healthy or keep going to the gym to get the body you want. In many aspects of our life where we're told that it's not our time, or that we have to work even harder than how we're working to get what we desire, that can be very challenging. However, that mastery component that Saturn brings is the end result. Saturn is our greatest teacher to show us what we need to do, what we might need to sacrifice to get what it is we truly desire. And anyone with prominent Capricorn or Aquarius placements, Saturn being the traditional ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, realize that they're in it for the long game. They're not just trying to get a quick fix or make a quick buck. They want to implement those structures long term. And so I say that because no matter what fixed placement you have, Saturn is going to be affecting you in some way. And then we have Uranus, which is that instant change, this spontaneity, this unexpected energy that you have to contend with that you might not be ready for. And I always think that Uranus is like a Pandora's box. You don't know if it's going to be good or bad. And that unexpected change, sometimes you're not ready for. It's like, okay, you have to move and pick up and move across the country. You have to move homes, or you have to pivot in career, or this relationship, something just happened and now you have to hold space for your partner. These things could be good or bad, but in the moment, it's a drastic change that you now have to accommodate with everything else in your life going on at the exact same time. And now all these Scorpio placements in play right now, it's like, okay, well, now you want to do the work. Now we want to see where there could be doubts and fears, and where we need to go deeper, and where there's going to be a deeper investment of emotion, or where we really need to go deeper into the work, into the trauma, into the pain so that we can heal it. And now you're saying I need to do that on top of working hard and dealing with instantaneous change that I cannot prepare for no matter what I do. It can be a lot. And again, we have that Uranus Saturn square that's going to be affecting everyone. But then if you have fixed placements, it's this push for you to change, to create better structures to support yourself. And fixed signs don't love change. They like to control. They like to feel safe. They like to have their routine. They like to do things in a certain way that feels good and safe to them. And so there's a lot of different things at play that are specifically affecting fixed signs more than any other sign right now. This will get significantly easier at the beginning of March of 2023. I believe it's March 6th or March 9th when Saturn moves into Pisces. So it's only a few more months. So it's kind of knowing, like if you're at the gym and you have 15 minutes left of the workout and you know there's a couple hard workouts or a couple hard exercises coming up, there's only 15 minutes left. You know the workout's going to be done very soon. So if we're looking ahead, we have November, December, January, February. There's 4 more months of Saturn being in Aquarius in a fixed sign. That's not a long time. So knowing that means that whichever house that is ruled by Aquarius in your natal chart, there's 4 more months to really learn the lessons that are going to support you moving forward in that house. And then the nodes will shift out of Scorpio and Taurus in July of 2023. So that's what, another 8 months away. So relatively speaking, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going to be moving. And that's just the ebb and flow of life. That certain elements or certain modalities in astrology face these more intense aspects than others. And then it gets passed off so that other people can learn the lessons and that they can grow and then support the others when they are going through those challenging times. So yes, it can be hard. Yes, it can be frustrating. Yes, it can be a lot to handle. Just know it's setting you up for success later on so that you can enjoy your life at a greater degree. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you need any clarity on that. As per usual, if you have any general questions on anything discussed the week ahead, the Astro question, let me know in the comments of this video, and have a beautiful rest of your week. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.